Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Plotlines. I'm your host, Connor, and today is a really interesting day because I lied to you in the last episode, unknowingly, of course, but a lie nonetheless. This is not last episode was not the last episode to be videotaped in this setting, which I thought it was because I didn't know what I'd be doing today. So John and I had the privilege of watching episode 2 of the Mass of the Ages documentary, and we were asked to do a review of it. So
Sort of a blind react.
yeah, I mean, it obviously it's not live and it's not we already watched it, so it's not like we're showing you what our literal reactions were, but we're gonna give you sort of a hyped up sort of way of thinking about this. The sequel to an already impressive documentary.
Yeah. You should, if you haven't already, you should watch the first episode and then come back to finish this one. So
that's a good point. Definitely watch the first episode. That should
which can be found on YouTube for free. So
definitely. I mean, and once the sequel comes out and released on the 26th, if I'm getting that right, of May, it will also be free. Well, also, so the way that the Mass of the Ages is able to make this free is through donations. So we will be sending you to the massoftheages.fund. So if you feel so inclined to give to them to support their mission to bring the knowledge and story of the Mass of the Ages to millions of Catholics worldwide. I think they want to do a lot of different translations to get it into, sort of the as many possible people, to get it to as many possible people as possible, and get into, sort of, I mean, the Catholic Church is Catholic, it's universal. So we want to get this information to as many people as possible. But yeah, so John, what was your first reactions to it, or what sort of was it a good sequel?
Oh, it was phenomenal. And if having watched the first one and then seeing how that one led off, you were kind of on the edge of your seat. You couldn't wait to see what they were going to bring to episode 2. And I thought they did a great job incorporating what they had taught and sort of and showed in the first episode, and then bringing it into a bigger light in the second one.
Yeah.
How about you?
So I felt like it was mainly informational, and I really enjoyed that aspect of it. I thought that, the story element was sort of there in the first episode, and it was the main aspect of it, because the story sort of draws you in. And then you want to know more about sort of what the Latin Mass is, where it came from, which actually this episode does get into, is where it came from. And then it sort of goes, what was it attempted to be replaced with? I also was given the opportunity, hopefully you've watched it, I did an interview with Cameron O'Hearn, the director of Mass of the Ages, and sort of we got into sort of understanding where he was coming from, what his purpose, and sort of how the Mass of the Ages came about, and sort of the the basics of it. And I would say, sort of out of that, sort of we were talking about more the trailer stuff because I hadn't seen the sequel yet, but I had brought up sort of the fact that someone like Michael Knowles was interviewed for this, and I don't want to give too much away, obviously, but he is very clever, and Cameron was right that he's just he puts into words sort of what you're thinking and in a way that you probably never really thought about it. And he doesn't do that very often on his podcast because he's not constantly talking about Catholic things
Mhm.
on his podcast.
Yeah, largely just a conservative talk show. So you don't really get that side of him. So it was nice to see. And not that I was shocked by
His opinions.
seeing him in that light, but certainly just a side of him I've never really heard or seen before. So that was nice.
Yeah, and he was more from the commentator perspective. You know, there's a lot of different experts, many bishops, and just there's a lot of research that went into this episode. Probably more research than the first episode.
And it shows. It certainly
does. And they even set sort of show their research in a very sort of mind-blowing way that I didn't see coming. So I don't think we should really talk about sort of what that literally translates into, but it sort of, it just makes you think a lot, and it's very surprising. So that is something to look forward to. But John, what did you think of the animations? Because Cameron talked about in my episode with him sort of the emphasis they made on making the animations look really good. What did you think about it?
I thought they were tremendous. I thought they did a really good job of comparing and contrasting the old and new mass, and it puts everything into new perspective. Whether you are a avid goer of the old rite or you only know the Novus Ordo Mass, just to see that, you think, wow, I like, you thought you knew, like, going into this, I was like, yeah, I know, like, the Mass is different, and I know, like, where the discrepancies are, but I didn't realize how much there was. And they go through stats and figures, and you really just get blown away by it.
Yeah, so I think that's pretty true. I think it's sort of, it really sets you up to sort of in awe, of the changes, sort of like how drastic they are. And, so the animations really do a great job of that. What do you think of sort of, there were a few stories sort of, not necessarily to get into like the stories, but there were stories from the laity about their experiences with the Latin Mass and sort of their support of the Latin Mass. How did you think that sort of came across?
I thought it was important to see. Certainly, they showed like laity that got both sides. So they grew up knowing the Latin Mass, and then they were around when the transition happened. So to see their perspective and to see what they had to say was really important, and it only helps further maybe a younger person's realization that maybe it piques their interest in the Latin Mass. And I think that was like the whole idea, was like, oh, there's something here, maybe I should go check it out. But yeah, that's what you see in like Latin Mass goers, and something they talk about a lot is, yeah, there's a lot of young people. You got a lot of young families going to the Latin Mass, which is hopeful, in a way.
A lot of the focus sort of this episode is sort of the creation of the new Mass, and I think that's probably the story of that is probably the most shocking, and that most viewers, most Catholics have no idea what came of that, where that was, where things were heading based on sort of people's opinions, so it was made through the concilium. A concilium was made to reform the liturgy, and the sort of the story behind it and the structure behind the concilium really is kind of in some ways heartbreaking to hear and to see sort of in visual format, but also just edifying.
Certainly.
Yeah. And then also I felt like it was just nice to see a lot of priests and clergy. And I think, in the episode 1 and episode 2, it just seems more like we're being led by, like, if you look at the Mass of the Ages interviewees, you're being led by spiritual fathers and not just led by the laity. And I think, it's important to have the perspective of the laity sort of on your mind, maybe normally. And I think the reason we have that is because of lack of leadership. But it's nice to see that there are bishops and priests that recognize the problems of the church and problems with the liturgy.
Certainly.
Yeah.
And I think it goes back a little bit to what I was talking about hope, because you have sort of backing in your beliefs then. Like if you want to go to a Latin mass, say, and you have a priest or a bishop who's willing to say it, then you can have that opportunity. I know it's not very easy these days because of the guardians of tradition. So there's that.
Yeah, and the direction the Mass of the Ages project is, going is very interesting. You can also check that out in my discussion with Cameron. We got into a little bit of that, but so there's just, Cameron wants to create a lot of fruit from this project, and when it comes out, we really need to share this. We need to get this to as many people as possible. We want millions upon millions of Catholics to watch this and billions of people to watch it. Just, so, and it's very well done. Like this is a documentary, not like, not your stereotypical, like, think about Christian movies. Like this is not a Christian movie. I use air quotes for Christian movie because it.
Have you seen Planet Earth?
No.
With David Attenborough?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, it's kind of like the Planet Earth of the Catholic Mass.
Is that good?
Yes, very.
Okay. No idea, but
it's not your average run of the muck documentary. It's very well done.
It's also very hard hitting and just like heartbreaking. There's so much to it, so much depth. Anybody from any age will really enjoy this if they have an openness to the Catholic Church and to the faith and to the reverence, or to a reverence towards Christ, because that is really at the essence of the old Mass, the traditional Latin Mass, the Mass of the Ages. How many different names can we give it? I don't know. I can't.
Enough.
Yeah, it would be nice if Tridentine Mass. There you go.
Yeah.
Another one. Are there any others that I'm missing?
I'm sure there are, but
probably. It's been around so long that it has plenty of names.
The new Mass only has
one. Yeah, basically. New, Novus, basically the same. It's just a translation. Yeah, exactly. It's not even. But yeah, so this Mass, the Latin Mass goes all the way back to, I think the 300s, sort of in Latin, and then the canon, I believe, goes all the way back to Gregory the Great.
Right. Yeah.
It up until the 50s, the canon was unchanged since Saint Gregory the Great. So it just shows how important, how ancient the rite is, and it seems like people through bad research sort of came to believe that development is not an important thing in the liturgy, which this documentary goes into a lot of that, and it explains it incredibly well, but much better than I could do it. So, all of it is fantastic. Is there anything you want to add? Anything specific about the sort of why to watch it
Why to watch it?
when it comes out, because it hasn't
Yeah.
come out yet.
If I could say one thing, it would be if there's something missing in your mass going, if you feel like you're missing something in your faith life and you're wondering why, I would say check out this episode, because it may answer a lot of questions for you and certainly will pique your interest. And that's the whole idea, is to shed a new light on something that almost seems forgotten nowadays. So yeah, do check it out. Highly recommend.
Well said. Thanks, John, for joining me for this obviously very special episode. I mean, just you and me. It's a very special episode. This has never happened before. Maybe more in the future. Who knows?
We'll see. Yeah.
But yeah, so please like, share, and subscribe, guys. Help us to get this review / hype episode to as many people as possible. We want to spread the word. We want to get people hyped. So please share this as much as possible. Bring this to people in in your different parishes. Let people know that the date is coming and you'll be able to see it.
2 weeks.
Yeah. So it's almost here and we can't wait. And we can't wait for everyone to see it. So get excited. Okay. Thank you guys for watching. John, anything?
No. Look forward to seeing you guys next time.
Okay. Bye.
Word from our affiliate, Bishop Sheen Rosaries. You've probably worn through the chain of your cheap plastic rosary. Other rosaries simply can't stand up to the wear and tear of everyday life. Bishop Sheen rosaries are made of solid metal beads and paracord to withstand any condition and are backed with a lifetime warranty. Upgrade your rosary to a Bishop Sheen rosary made to fit your lifestyle or buy one for a friend. Each rosary sold supplies 2 weeks of food for a school kid in Uganda. You use the exclusive link down below to help support our efforts here at Plotlines. The link will take you to sheenrosaries.com. Be sure to use the code Plotlines10.